In this session, we talk about the concept of variability and control. We discussed about control strategies and we discussed about the benefits of control. Now we need to look at how these benefits are achieved. To understand this, we need to understand the concept of variability, how variability is treated in control, how the variability from one variable is transferred to another variable. That's basically the mechanism for control, transferring the variability. Now to understand this, we'll take a look at a simple day-to-day example, the driving problem. Here you can see here, if you are driving on a scenic road with lots of uphills and downhills. Similar to time, you can designate it by distance. And if we have the road elevation to be going up and down this way, and you are driving on this road. Now we'll consider here three different scenarios. Scenario 1, if we consider that there is no control. Now by no control, we refer to the condition where the fuel flow remains constant. So if we plot fuel flow with time or distance, whatever you consider. So the no control condition, I'll refer to the driving when there is no change in the fuel flow. If we plot fuel flow, it will look like something a constant value over time and same over distance. Now if we do not change the fuel flow at all, what can you think about the speed of the car? If we plot the speed, then because of the changes in the elevation, you see the speed will change probably something similar to this depending on the elevation of the road. Now what may be potential problem with this? So now if you are driving on a road with a speed limit, suppose whatever 80 or 100 kilometer per hour, you see that with the change in the elevation, the speed will be changing and there is a potential that the car speed will go beyond the limit. So if this is the limit, you see that for a certain time, the car speed is beyond the limit. We are considering here, for example, maybe in this region where the elevation is really low. So we are violating the constraint here. Now, if you do not want that, what you may want to do, that next time you're driving, you may keep the fuel flow to be low here at some value. Say this situation 1 corresponding to 1 here. And if this condition 2, so next time maybe you're driving, you're keeping the fuel flow at a lower value because you knew that at the previous instant you violated the speed limit. So if that's the case, maybe the velocity will be something. So this is case 2, where you're putting less fuel to the car next time to avoid violating the speed limit. Now if you compare these two scenarios, for the first case, you have an average speed maybe something. But for the second case, as you did not want to violate the speed limit, you ran at a speed, average speed much lower, which may be something like this one. So this is for scenario 2 average speed and this for scenario 1 average speed. And what's the problem for this case? Your average speed will be low, meaning it will take more time for you to reach the destination without violating the speed constraint. So if you understand this concept, so this is the case where there is no control. Now typically you don't drive your car with no control. Always do some sort of manipulation. Now you can think about the second scenario, what I'll call to be a manual control. So for the manual control scenario, you change the fuel flow. However, maybe depending on the elevation and depending on the change in the speed, you may want to change the fuel flow like this. And you may end up having a speed profile, something with, we are still not violating the speed limit. However, speed has some variability. From your driving experience, you can say that, okay, this is really unavoidable. There will be some variability in the speed. The variability cannot be entirely removed. Now, so here, I will call this to be the manual control scenario. So scenario 2 is the manual control. The third scenario I want to discuss maybe the concept of what is called this automatic control. Or for the driving problem, you can think about the cruise control. Now for the cruise control case, again we'll look at the fuel flow and the car speed. Again, for all of this case, the x-axis is either time or distance. So if you have a speed limit set, maybe the cruise controller can control the speed within this range. Now for doing that, to keep the speed within this range with less change in the speed, meaning less variability, what it does, it manipulates the fuel flow much more, meaning that it's changing the fuel flow much more than the other case, which is the manual control. Now you can think about, you have no control scenario, there is no change in the fuel flow. You have the manual control scenario, there is change in the fuel flow, and you have the cruise control scenario, there is also change in the fuel flow. Now you can see that here is no change, here is less change, here is more change in the fuel flow. On the other hand, if you look at the speed, so you have much more variation in the speed here, you have less variation in the speed here, and you have the least variation in the speed here. Now, if you go back to the control terminology, we said that for the driving problem, the fuel flow is the input and speed is the output. So what really control doing here? So for this case, you can see that control is helping to avoid the violation of the constraint, which is the limit, or you can think about the safety limit. So we're achieving this objective. Now to achieve this objective, now what's the controller doing here? You see here is no control and there is no change in the input, there is much change in the output, and the output is violating the constraint for this case. For the second case, the constraint is not violated. However, you can see that the average is still far below the maximum allowable speed. For this case, you see that the input has much more variation, the output has less variation, and that's why you can really drive pretty close to the speed limit. So for this case, you need much more time to reach your destination. At the same time, there may be violation in the constraint. Here, you could avoid the violation in the constraint. However, still the average speed is far below the maximum allowable speed. Here you can see here, the constraint is not violated. Still, the average speed close to the maximum allowable speed. So you can think about, this is no control. This is, although I said manual, it can be considered to be poor control, and this can be considered to be a good control. So that's how really controller works. So the basic understanding here is that the controller reduces the variability in the output. The first point is that the controller reduces the variability in the output. However, in doing that, it increases the variability in the input. Again, do remember that it decreases the variability in the output, however, it increases the variability in the input, meaning that the controller is transferring the variability from the output to the input. Now think about, if there is a variability in the output or the car speed that determines that it may violate the constraint, also that determine the outcome, meaning you may need more time to reach your destination. However, if there is variation in the fuel flow, that does not cause any issue. So there is no constraint on the fuel flow. Definitely there is constraint that, okay, it may go from 0 to 100%, but there is no other constraint that how we really manipulate the fuel flow. So if there is variability in the fuel flow, that's not a concern. However, if there is variability in the speed, that's a concern. So the way a controller works is that it transfers the variability from the variable where you cannot tolerate to the variable you can tolerate. So do remember this final point. The mechanism through which a controller works is to transfer the variability from the variable that it cannot tolerate to the variable that it can tolerate. The controller transfers the variability from the output to the input. Thank you.